Okay, I seen it, you seen it, and we're all thinking the same thing. What the fuck was that documentary? Why is Chris Chan there? He's not that far behind EDP. And also, why is the GTA 6 trailer releasing on Netflix? And more importantly, where's the gameplay at? Did y'all hear about FNAF getting an official restaurant? First off, I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a moment. What was the point of this documentary? Aside from the whole entertainment value and spectacle of it, it really doesn't provide anything useful aside from confirming things that we already know. Like, we know this guy is an incel, we know the events leading up to this man's capture, and we know this guy is as dumb as a pile of bricks. Matter of fact, scratch that. That is an insult to a pile of bricks. And the stuff he talks about was enough for extreme concern, but not enough to warrant an arrest. But according to the lawyer, he is well within the statute of limitations, so he can still be charged. And if he doesn't get charged, his health issues is going to get rid of the problem altogether. Because in the documentary, it was revealed that he suffers from stage 5 kidney failure. So it seems like karma's going to catch up to him real soon. I just hope this doesn't become a Fleece Johnson situation where EDP gains popularity by being a degenerate, because that was the problem with Fleece Johnson. His entire claim to fame was being a rapist in prison. And the Boondocks skit didn't make it any better, because now he's just known as the funny Boondocks guy. Anyway, I'm gonna step off my soapbox now and give you my overall thoughts on the documentary. That documentary was absolute cinema. Like, first off, we can agree that the cinematography was amazing. And in all honesty, it was a bit too amazing because it made it much funnier than it was originally intended. Like, they had this man painted as an Avengers level threat. I half expected text to pop up on the screen saying EDP will return in Avengers Doomsday. Like, why did they paint him as a cartoon villain? Like, the documentary was trying to give him aura for no reason. It did that full circle thing where it's like, ha, no, I like being the bad guy. Like, brother, you are not an anime villain. You are a predator. All right, now let's get on the actors, right? Because who would willingly play the role of EDP? Like, how much did you get paid? Like, imagine being a young actor and your first acting role was playing EDP. Okay, now for the elephant in the room and the most absurd part of this entire documentary. You know the Cupcake Man trying to rizz up children? Fuck all that. Here's a list of YouTubers he hates or admires, but we're gonna get on that in a second. Like, what was the purpose of that section? And what did I Show Speed do? And as for the female creators, yeah, that makes sense, which is kind of ironic considering that he probably gooned to them more times than you can count on your fingers and toes. Now for the creators he admires, and of course, this guy is an Andrew Tate fan. Of course, this guy is a Trump supporter. They both have an affinity for people who can barely form complete sentences, and they both somehow evaded arrest. And do I really need to say anything about Fresh and Fit? If you are a fan of any of these people, just know this is the person you are associated with. This is who you are associated with. You know, I was half expecting Shion Head to appear because she seems like the exact person EDP would be interested in. And then this loser has Andrew Tate posters just decorated around his room, with the most notable one being Discipline, which again is ironic considering what this documentary is about. Okay, now we have the meeting of the Titans. Chris Catcho-ass Hansen meeting the sentient tub of lard known as the Cupcake Man. Now, it is insane how shameless and unapologetic Bryant is in this interview. Chris Hansen is probably flabbergasted because this is probably the first predator he's come across that stood on business. Yeah, so did you intend on having relations with a 13-year-old? Huh. Yeah. What about it? Like, this ninja was so casual about it. I half expected the red shirt music to play. Why did they focus so much on his crusty ass feet? I bet he probably thought he looked so cool doing that interview too. Yeah, I'm a predator. What about it? I like how the documentary had to clarify EDP was not a homosexual twice. I think the craziest part is that EDP's life is probably the life of millions of Redditors and 4chaners right now. And that's crazy. Okay, this is a bit off topic, but I don't think I've ever seen a 4chaner with a clean room. Like, there's always a bunch of fast food everywhere, cans, cigarette butts. Bitch, clean your room. A pedophile has a tidier living space than 90% of you. Think about that. Now let's talk about EDP's girlfriend real quick. Now when they mentioned EDP had a girlfriend, tell me with a straight face that I wasn't the only one expecting a midget to walk in the frame. But no, it was a decent and sweet looking person. And the craziest part was this could have had a happy ending. And another timeline, this relationship could have changed EDP's life around. But no, he was too much of an incel to allow himself a smidget of happiness. And the craziest part is, like with all incels, it all started with him being rejected in high school. Now let this be a lesson to you. If EDP can find love, you can too. And also, for some reason, this one particular frame is just so funny because EDP looks so distraught and disappointed in this frame. Okay, now let's go to the claims of this goth looking lady. What the fuck does she mean that Gideon was being controlled by the Illuminati?
The craziest place I actually did beat my shit is in a fucking Walgreens bathroom. I stole a magazine off the rack, and I went in that bitch and I just started fucking letting my shit have it in that bathroom. I ain't give a fuck. In the girls' bathroom, by the way.
Why the girls' bathroom?
I wanted to make it, well, I beat off in the girls' bathroom because I wanted to make it that much more fucking pleasurable and fucking intense.
Because the girls would be around?
Hell yeah. You already fucking know.
Fucking degenerate, bro. This is some shit you see a guy brag about on an incel forum. Why would they let his ass near a child? I don't know. Okay, now to talk about the cameos, what was the point? Like, why did we need an Avengers lineup of YouTube cameos? Kind of ties into what I said at the beginning. I feel like this documentary is more spectacle than value. Like, some of them make sense. Obviously, Gideon and that other Predator catcher makes sense because they actually had a hand in exposing him. Chris Hansen for obvious reasons. But why did we need Boogie 298? Why did we need Wings of Redemption? And why did we need Chris Chan? All of which are not too far behind EDP, especially Chris Chan. Why is he here? And I feel like Charlie's involvement was just made to market the documentary rather than provide any substance, because literally all he and other YouTubers did was just talk about how dumb and stupid EDP is. Which, wow, you really contributed a lot to this documentary. Mind-blowing stuff. Insane. It really gave me new insight, new deep intellectual information. Like, bro, like, as entertaining as this documentary was, I do feel like its sole purpose of existing was just to make content out of it. I know the profits go to Rain, but still, you have to admit that still some part of this leave a bad taste in your mouth. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? All right, now let's see what the internet says. EDP somehow managed to get a girlfriend. Again, let this be a lesson to you that no matter how ugly you are, just remember that there's always someone out there for everyone. Chris Chan was dead ass the devil criticizing Satan. Exactly! Why was he in this documentary? What purpose did he serve? There's a whole origin story of how EDP got his name. Exactly. Why did they paint this like the upbringing of a superhero? This guy is not All Might. He's an obese Jarvis Tech. Which, yes, for those of you who don't know, the Mad Hatter is canonically a pedophile. Okay, this reply is funny as hell. Did they get an expert in motherfucking? It's impossible to take this seriously due to shit like this. Now, for me, it was the transition cards in Adam 22 talking about how he wouldn't let EDP fuck his wife, Lamau. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, yeah, there was a whole section about EDP sitting his shit to people. Dude got a girl and I don't. Critical calling this a doc made with genuine care as they bring locales and people completely unrelated to EDP. Exactly. Don't worry, EDP is definitely not gay. He only shoved a broomstick up his arse. I have no clue why the age of consent is 18. Nah, this motherfucker gotta go. Friend just said EDP is too funny to be a pedophile. Yeah, that EDP documentary had some golden screenshots. Exactly. If none of these become meme templates, I'm gonna be upset. EDP doc features these famous YouTubers. If any of these pedophile hunter mouth breeders hype up or are actually capable of like they say they are, you'd think EDP would be behind bars instead of having a comedy special disguised as a documentary. The part where he lists creators and influencers he likes is even funnier and has slander potential. Is basically a badge of shame if EDP is a big fan of that person. Why is the KKK trending on my feed? And why is this guy trying to debate the age of consent? Chris Chan calling EDP a sex creep. A homeless man calling another homeless man a broke ass. EDP loves Sneeko and Andrew Tate. Likely because they're both fighting to lower the age of consent. Pokimane here is just misogyny. I say we should terminate EDP by guillotine, but his fat ass would probably break it. What was your first clue that EDP didn't like women? This is my Avengers Endgame. You and me both, Midas. Chris Chan in the EDP documentary. EDP is the Thanos of pedophilia. There are 3 inevitable things in this universe: death, taxes, and EDP. What am I doing wrong? EDP has a girlfriend before me. Talk to more minors, I guess. Ain't no way they put Chris Chan in the documentary like it was some kind of WWE return. Not only did this nigga get a shout out from EDP, but he's also a hypocrite. Shit can't get any worse. Chris Chan making an appearance talking shit about EDP was like Mussolini condemning Hitler in 1934. Imagine growing up and seeing yourself playing baby EDP. Who the hell signed that, bro? Chris Hansen was so disappointed that his legacy is carried on by Alex Rosen, Gideon, and Skeeter Jean. Genuinely think if EDP wasn't morbidly obese and barely able to walk, dude would have been a serial rapist and murderer. What a terrifying individual. McDonald's has heroically protected us from EDP. Obesity saved his life in this case. The diversity of characters included in this film was wild. So are we gonna gloss over the fact he said he put a broomstick up his Chris Chan and Boogie talking smack when they were part of the Sinister Six alongside EDP? I find it funny how he's more worried about being perceived as gay than being perceived as a pedophile. They introduced Chris Hansen like he was Batman. But anyway, that's all for today. What do you think? Later. Bye.
Human scum! I've got a stiff neck from looking down on your worthless life all day.
Ooh, I have a trick for that.